welcome to Barley and Me. I'm your host, Ben Rice. This is episode 94. We're here today in Carmichael, California, on the phone with Athletic Brewing's Bill Shufelt.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for coming on. And also with us, the non-alcoholic beer aficionado founder, Danny Lesage.
Yep, here I am.
And Katrina Lesage.
Hello.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this will be fun.
All right, so this is a Barley and Me first of sorts, first non-alcoholic brewery. So I'd usually ask, how's business? But I think the question we should start with is, why is business?
Yeah, no, totally, really, valid question. Nobody in this country really thinks about non-alcoholic beer, or up until recently has really thought about it, just because the category is so unwarranting of the attention. There hadn't been any innovation whatsoever in 30 years in this country. All the brands, even the rebranded ones that everyone references, are all pre-1990 essentially. And then there's a cool community starting to pop up. Not only us, but Wellbeing Brothers, Surreal, Partake, and then some bigger breweries also. And Danny and Katrina are doing a great job highlighting those for everyone in the community. But it's really, as we think of it, it's a conversation that's really been happening in our country for a while as everyone gets more healthy and mindful. And the craft beer world's incredible, but there's so many occasions where higher ABVs don't make sense. And really, above 5%. Yeah, and it's like so many occasions. And 40% of adults don't drink these days. So it's like we're really trying to add occasions and add to the craft community tribe and just make anyone feel inclusive in drinking and social situations, and really not have to settle for subpar beverages when so many people are enjoying the great craft world. That's kind of the why. And how is really fun. It's honestly, it's fun to see something that it was just a small idea in our heads about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We did a lot of planning. Yeah, a lot of people thought it was totally crazy, but then a lot of people, as soon as you tell them about it, are totally on board too. So the how has been really fun and really surprising, how big the latent community is ready for something like this.
Yeah, I've only had a few of them. I did an episode where I did a taste test, and I'm really excited to try your beer. You've gotten some awards even out of it in just the beer circle.
Yeah, again, both non-alcoholic and alcoholic craft beer. We've gotten a few awards. We were the USA winner in the World Beer Awards last year. We got our Run Wild IPA got the International Gold Medal in the International Beer Challenge last year. And I think that's against hundreds of US and European non-alcoholic beers.
Nice.
And then, and some of the contests that don't let non-alcoholic beers enter in their own category, we just enter regularly. And our Golden Ale got a silver medal at the New York International Beer Competition last year.
Yeah.
Against alcoholic beers, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was reading. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So we're actually pouring our first one here. Danny, what do we got?
Oh, sweet. Which are you pouring?
All right, we're doing the Upside Dawn. When I first saw this beer, I thought it was upside down. But now I get the idea that you guys had behind that. So yeah, the Golden Ale, the one you were just talking about. Yes, we're going to give it a shot.
The name's just a total play on turning perceptions of non-alcoholic beer upside down, and then also upside down. You're going to feel good in the morning after having a bunch.
Yeah, this is really good.
Oh yeah,
that's
nice.
Yeah, it's really meant to be just really crisp, clean, and refreshing. And it's not meant to be really light calorie, but also very crafty and has some hop notes.
Yeah, I can definitely taste some of the hop notes, and then this would be a perfect beer for a hot day, I think. Mm-hmm. With spring rolling around even so. How many? 50 calories. That's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's basically a free calorie on or free beverage on calories. It's half of a Michelob Ultra.
That's what that beer has prided itself on.
Yeah, and it's certified all organic grains also.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Yeah, Ed, what led you to decide to go into this market? Because you're opening a brewery, and you're like, you know what? I feel like this is an underserved market that we could probably tap into. Is that kind of what happened there? Or is there like some other driving force to it?
Yeah, it wasn't so much the economics or like the untapped market. Sure, when you make a business plan, you definitely want to make sure that you have a baseline economic forecast and everything you want to hit. But it really was just about like having a career where you can have a positive impact and some fulfillment. And when I stopped drinking about 5.5 years ago, just for my lifestyle really naturally drifted in that direction. My finance career required a lot of overnight work where I was responsible for the content of my emails. And if you're going out to which is like, if you're going out to 3 or 4 work dinners a week and you have to send them like email in the middle of the night, even if you've only had 2 or 3 drinks, you kind of wake up and you're like, what exactly did I write there?
Let me check that again.
Yeah. And it just got to the point where I was balancing these financial or these professional risks, and like drinking was getting in the way of that, and my early mornings. And then on weekends, I was starting to run trail ultra marathons, Spartan races, stuff like that. And if I wanted to go for a big workout on Saturday, but I'd 3 like hearty beers the night before, I'd really be pretty dehydrated right at the outset of those workouts. So
right.
it was a really natural lifestyle drift. I was drinking less and less, and then so really saw the positive impact on that moderation on my life, and realized how many people are not included in the alcohol beverage world out there, and what a positive impact we could bring to all those occasions, like family occasions, work occasions, everything. And so it was really that fulfillment that I wasn't finding in my other financial life that I sought after.
For me, I think about non-alcoholic beer, and I think, especially with craft non-alcoholic beer, I think back when craft beer really took off, in the, I guess late 90s, I would say, is when it, got started to gain some steam. A lot of those people who were drinking and a part of that culture are now, we're 2019, so they're older. So maybe they're not looking for, that strong of a ABV anymore, or that, their lifestyle has changed. So the non-alcoholic beer, while it's, not your typical run-of-the-mill beer, it's still craft. That's something they can get into, which is kind of where I'm at. So.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, in many ways, I think it was one of your guests, like on your prior episode, was talking about just like being in the beer industry and like travel around the craft beer bars, like just the desire for sessionable beers and drinking less and having days off. Really appeals to a lot of people who've been drinking a lot for a long period of years. But it's also, we've been really pleasantly surprised by kind of the, like every age group it's really resonated with. Gen Z and the millennials, they really, with like the social media risks out there, and they really value experiences over being drunk.
Right.
So we're really surprised by, like the amount of people in their 20s drinking non-alcoholic beers really caught me off guard.
Yeah.
And then young parents and like young professionals are a huge demographic also. Like we get so many emails from parents who are just like, thank you so much. Like I was totally missing out on the beer world just because I was terrified of drinking around my kids when I have them alone,
Oh, for sure.
And stuff like that. So,
like,
they're just,
I was gonna say I'm really excited about this because I do like 4 different things besides this, and I'll come home from like a long day at work. And I'm like, oh, I got to go out and do something else. I'm like, but I do want a beer before I go, and it's like, well, I don't want to drive in that condition. I don't want to go socialize in that condition. And I'm really excited to try these beers out. And so far, this Golden has been delicious. There's nothing about it that screams like this isn't the beer you're used to. And I'm 36. I don't think I'm out there drinking to get drunk anymore. And
right.
This is a great step. I really enjoy this beer a lot.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, in terms of drinking not to get drunk, I'm totally with you. Like when I think back on some of my favorite drinking memories, it's like just arriving to the bar and like seeing your friends for the first time that day, and like your first 2 or 3 beers are great. And like alcohol doesn't really come into the picture till like at least 45 minutes, like 2 or 3 hours down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you're just like dealing with that side effect at that point. It's not really the alcohol you're there for that experience for,
Mm-hmm.
or at least I find.
Yeah. Like the nose on this is great. The taste on it is great. And like, I don't see how I don't make this something that I go to. Because I don't really need 8%. I don't need that. So this is really exciting to see it just out and about.
Yeah, and then if you drink like a session beer, like with alcohol, then it's like, oh, I'm tired now. You know,
Yeah.
I have like like a couple session IPAs or something back when I used to drink, and then it's like, oh, that tasted good, but now I'm gonna go to sleep. You know, so I'd rather drink something that has that still has that flavor, but you can go about your day.
Yeah, and especially
for sure.
like you said, for mothers and for families, like when we have kids and we want to have a beer when we get home, but we don't want to have one in front of the kids, and we don't want to have one with knowing that we have to help them with homework or with whatever they may need, then we can still have something, an option. And I love these beers because they still have that same flavor. Like you're not having something completely different. It actually like tastes like you're still having a regular beer.
Yeah, beer without compromise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally exactly what we're going for. Our co-founder and our head brewer, John, is absolutely incredible. He had a very long craft brewing career at 2nd Street in Santa Fe, where he was a longtime head brewer, won a few Great American Beer Festival medals. And it's been absolutely incredible to watch him like come up with recipes for non-alcoholic beers to mimic the actual styles and have them be, true to style. Has been really fun. But yeah, the lack of compromise is totally a testament to John's talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I saw that on your website and in the beers that you've shipped over to me. That's why I threw that out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Beer
that's our, it's
not
definitely
my
our main thing.
it's not my phrase.
Brew without compromise. Yeah. No, I love it.
Yeah. I do you find that like one of the main points as far as getting that barrier to entry is kind of the stigma around non-alcoholic beer? Like that's something my grandma drank and things like that. Has that been something that's been an issue, or do you think that that's kind of fallen by the wayside once people have that first taste?
Oh, 100%. It's like, it's just getting people to the point where they try it. And so, yeah, the stigma around non-alcoholic beer is terrible in this country because the offerings have always been terrible. And like for someone to order a non-alcoholic beer at a bar that's that bad, they must be in such a penalty box position. And so, like that stigma has just built up so much momentum over the last like 50 years. And I really think it takes like making it a healthy, positive decision that like the modern adult can relate to that will like wipe out that stigma. Yeah, we did a lot of Google, Google surveys, like while we were in business planning and like just like figuring out why is this like 0.5% of the beer market? Is it that stigma? Is it the quality? And pretty much it was 50-50 stigma and quality. It was never like, I don't see a place for that in my life or anything like that. It was like, just like the social or the quality, usually.
Right.
But yeah, we're really out there trying to, like our main marketing thing is really just getting beer in people's hands.
Yeah.
I think like you should see it at athletic events where we have our tent set up and we just give out beers to finishers. People hang out at the tent and they're like, never thought about non-alcoholic beer. Like,
Right.
I could drink this. And they just like start rattling off occasions, which is really fun.
Yeah, well, usually at the runs, at least the ones that I've seen, especially in this area, you get like a beer after. It's definitely not non-alcoholic beer, and that it's always been like weird to me. I know it's like, for the carbs and kind of like, like a recovery thing, but then there's alcohol. So then it's like,
yeah,
it's kind of like, it kind of makes sense, but then it doesn't really make sense. But if it's non-alcoholic, then that totally makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, beer itself is like, we, as a team at Athletic, like we love beer, craft beer, wine, like we're proponents of everything. We're definitely not soapbox, people.
Yeah.
And like we love those experiences and celebrations, and we just want to add more people to those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, like the Spartan race we sponsored a couple weeks ago in California, it was us next to an ABI tent, and basically, yeah, anyone who was there could get a great beer, and it was pretty cool to see like all the non-drinkers hanging out in the beer garden.
Right.
Yeah, beer itself is like a really healthy beverage for the most part, except for the alcohol is dehydrating.
Right.
But like, beer has like polyphenols, anti-inflammatory qualities. It has potassium, magnesium, vitamin B, D. Just like there's a lot of healthy stuff going on in beer, and it's generally like a super clean ingredient profile also. So like beer as an image of beer has this image of like the overweight beer belly type beverage, and I think it really fits the modern lifestyle a lot more than people give credit for.
Mm-hmm.
Like if people really looked at the calories and stuff in wine, they'd probably shift back to beer a bit more, I would think. Yeah. And the sugar. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because juice is also the same problem. It's like so much sugar. It's like, oh, it's a healthy snack. It's like, it's not though. It's so much sugar for you.
For sure. It's in limited doses. It's great. But, yeah, the sugar.
And I like the idea that you guys kind of have put your whole, like all the eggs in one basket. You're like, it's a healthy lifestyle choice. It's easier for your day. And then you're like, we're also going to call it, we're going to be at all these races and events, and we're going to call it athletic brewing.
Right.
Like just really whole hog on that concept.
Yeah, we're literally just trying to give, like where it's traditionally been penalty box, we want to give someone arm them with a healthy, positive reason to be drinking non-alcoholic beer, you know? And that makes it pretty tough for someone to like be negative towards them about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great name. It really carries through your whole message and everything like that. And, I guess one of the questions, like, I had a no duels a couple months ago, and honestly, not that bad. I had this idea that it was going to be this terrible thing, and I'm like, you know what? Compared to my expectation, not bad. And so I was really excited to try these. Where the hype that I've seen has been that this is like a high quality, like craft beer that smells like beer, tastes like beer, and it's going to actually be more than you'd expect. My train of thought just left the station entirely.
Well, yeah, there are some.
Go ahead. Yeah, I drink non-alcoholic beer everywhere I go. Like, I definitely have respect for the crisp, more lager type beers that are out there. And I wouldn't necessarily order multiples of them, but one is super refreshing. And I'm really excited for more people to come online brewing higher quality lagers also, where they put more care into the ingredients and stuff. So we might have seen some exciting stuff coming out around that front as well.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The Heineken came out with their 0.0, and I got some of that, and I was like, okay, this is, I'm not gonna have a bunch, but it's nice. It's crisp. It's refreshing, and you go out to dinner or something, it'll be a good thing to order.
Yeah, I thought it was super drinkable, and it really tastes just like Heineken. And Heineken's never personally been my favorite beer, but I think it's super drinkable, and they've nailed that style, which I'm so excited that there are other quality offerings coming on the market. I think they're really just going to elevate, I think everyone working together is going to elevate all different angles of this new segment of craft. And I really think it's just quality is the most important thing right now.
Right.
Making sure things on the shelf are good and consistent and use high quality ingredients and marketing, just because if people have a bad experience with non-alcoholic beer right now, it's so early in the stage that they're going to turn off from the category and be like, oh, non-alcoholic beer still stinks.
Right.
And then everyone who has that experience will probably tell 10 people that also. And so it's super important to have the high quality offerings. And that's why we're so excited to see Heineken coming on, where Brooklyn Brewery was talking about non-alcoholic beer on Twitter yesterday, but we also heard Eric speak at the Brewbound conference, and they're great guys down there. We're really excited for them to come to market with their beers, just because we think having quality options in the marketplace would be so good for the category.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I started that Facebook group, the non-alcoholic aficionados, is basically, you know, I couldn't drink alcohol anymore because of medical reasons and medication I'm taking. And, but I was a big part. I was in the craft beer scene a lot, and especially locally here in Sacramento, we went from like 9 to 70 something in like 5 years, you know, some crazy number. And it was kind of like a big part of my social life. And so then I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. But I am getting older, so I probably shouldn't anyways. and so it kind of forced me into that. And then I found you guys, I found Well-Being, I found Surreal, Bravis, and I was like, okay. So people are making craft non-alcoholic beer. It's not just your imports or, you know, Euro Duels or, you know, what you see at the grocery store. There is other stuff out there. You have to look for it, though. It's not just something you're going to find going to Safeway. And so when I found that, I was like, well, I want to get the word out about this because I want, you know, the market to grow because I want to drink more good beer. So, you know, I want these breweries to get, you know, to get more exposure, to grow the market. And then these breweries are going to, you know, start to be even more innovative. Technology is going to, you know, help them with that. They're going to try different styles, you know, and that's what's great about craft beer. The craft beer world in general is like one brewery is trying to one up the other one, you know, and it's, you know, this friendly competition that I miss too. And so now that I see that there's these craft beers that are out there that don't have the alcohol, it's like, okay, well, I want to promote that and hopefully get other people to realize that there is a market here. It's not like in Europe, but there is one. And so let's get people on board, you know?
Yeah, I think you guys are doing an incredible job bringing eyeballs and awareness to the category in your group. You know, we're definitely thankful for what you guys are doing. It's been awesome to see how fast it's been growing too. Like I remember looking down, it was like 20 followers, and then like a week later it was like 50, 80, 130. And it was like so cool how fast it grew and like how many comments on everything. It's like a really vibrant community you guys are building. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised too. We're at like 250 something now, and it's been like awesome. Not even 2 months, right? I think.
Like a month and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like also, Danny and Katrina, that you guys are doing essentially a letter writing campaign where you're just hitting up breweries like, hey, are you thinking about doing a non-alcoholic beer? Right. And I think if the more those emails and letters they get, they're like, oh, maybe there is a market out there that we could maybe touch on.
Right. Yeah. I've been, you know, posting screenshots of messages, and other people are doing the same thing. And, you know, when I first started the group, I was kind of promoting the group in general on, you know, different sober living pages and, you know, different pages that I thought, okay, maybe people on this page would, you know, appreciate this type of group. And now people are just finding it in general. It's not like I can tell, oh, they saw my comment on this and that's why they came to the group. It's just like these random people from other countries, from, you know, Midwest, East Coast, and then some people in California that I don't know. And, you know, that there's not really, you know, I haven't promoted it as much as I was at first, but people are finding it. So that's cool. I don't have to work as hard. People are just finding it now.
And
for sure.
Has it made a difference in your sales? And do you feel like you have gotten more customers from having that publicity?
Yeah, I'm sure. It definitely, like, you can see it happen organically on the forum where like people jump in and they're like, oh, what's out there, guys? And like everyone comments like, you got to try this, you got to try this. And like, I'm sure those people are just going right to the sites and ordering. Yeah, and something else you said about like finding it readily available on shelves and in bars and restaurants. It's definitely something we're working on, and it's like, it's so hard to scale distribution in a thoughtful way. And like the last thing we want to do is get over our skis, but, we've thought of we're definitely grow, like our capacity is pretty big. And we're going to be in every state from Pennsylvania to Maine, in the next couple weeks. And then we're also looking west and having conversations in California and Texas. And, but yeah, hopefully a few national chains will be up and running soon also. So it definitely never hurts to ask at stores also, where, there's this new app called Restock also that, it's pretty cool. Our beers are listed on it, but you can request, you like set up a home store as like your home grocery store. And then like if you request our products on the app, it like alerts all the area stores basically how many people in the area are requesting those products.
Right.
So that, yeah, it could be like something where like your local grocery store gets an alert that like 200 people in the area have requested this product. Probably makes sense to carry it, you know?
Yeah.
At least in some amount, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking kind of a good idea, and I mean, this is just me, but when I used to go out to like craft tap rooms, not necessarily breweries, but like just tap room itself, have a couple maybe stronger beers, and I'd have to, you know, sit there for a couple hours before I could drive home. But if there was a non-alcoholic beer option in cans or in bottles or something that tasted similar or like the beers that I was already drinking, it would kind of give me that flavor and that taste still while I'm sobering up. And then, you know, it's nicer to be able to do that, to kind of still be in that social setting and then be able to go home safely rather than having a couple of beers and then being like, okay, I'm bored now, and then leaving.
Oh, for sure, yeah. We've actually had really good success in Connecticut and Massachusetts getting either on tap or in cans in brewery tap rooms. Yeah, it's something just like you said, that breweries get that, and they want people coming in, but they don't want people driving home drunk.
Right.
So they've definitely been encouraging our beers as either, pacer beer or like a last call beer.
Right.
Yeah, it's also nice to have something that's non-alcoholic but disguisable for the people who are overserved as well.
Yeah, yeah, and your logo art is more modern. You know, you look at a lot of non-alcoholic labels, and they're pretty old school looking. Whereas you guys have taken this, it fits in on a shelf,
right?
And it looks interesting.
Oh, thank you very much.
That somebody's like, oh, I would like to try. That's an interesting label. I'll try that.
Yeah,
not even knowing what it is, you know, and that's excellent.
Oh, thank you very much. That's exactly what we're going for. We want to make it so people are like excited about what they have in their hands.
Hey, you. Do you love craft beer? Do you love craft beer brewed and bottled here in Northern California? Well, if you do, we got a magazine for you. ABV Magazine is the only local print publication covering Northern California's amazing craft beer and spirits community. Each issue features behind-the-bottle conversations, reviews, booze-based destinations, and a comprehensive guide to breweries, tap rooms, bottle shops, and distilleries in Northern California. You can sign up for only $1 a month and have each issue delivered right to your front door. Check it out at abvmagazine.com. And from all of us here at ABV Magazine, cheers, and thanks for supporting local craft beer. That's abvmagazine.com, alcohol by volume.
Okay, so we just opened the All Out Stout.
Nice.
Are you guys calling this a stout now? Because I see...
It just says All Out. Extra dark.
Extra dark.
So that's a labeling restriction in the non-alcoholic beer world. Like in the federal and the 45 states, the definition of beer is over 0.5. So, like, in theory, there's certain words you can't use on a non-alcoholic beer, like beer, ale, stout, lager, porter, bourbon, like whiskey, anything that implies that it's alcohol, you can't use. So,
okay.
Like we've stripped all those words. Yeah, so like no non-alcoholic beers are supposed to have the word stout on them, for example, by the federal legal landscape. And so that's why we call it an extra dark on the can. But it used to say All Out Stout.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
And but it's everything else in marketing and stuff we can refer to it as a stout. So
gotcha.
It's it's brewed to the Irish dry stout style.
Yeah, that's what I can tell. It's almost like a Guinness, but better.
Yeah, it's got that roastiness you want. You know, it's another winner. I'm not going to lie about it. I'd heard like, hey, if you're going to drink some athletic, like the stout's not really the best. I'm like, this is actually a pretty decent stout. Like,
yeah.
So if this is your least well liked of what I've read, I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely like it. I'm actually drinking one right now.
There you go.
I had a IPA after my workouts this morning, and I'm having a stout right now.
All right. Yeah, that's that's unheard of. I'm gonna go run and go home and have a stout. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of listeners are probably wondering, because we talked about the stigma and things, and I think it came from, first of all, who was drinking non-alcoholic beers when you were growing up. You don't want to be like your grandparents, and nobody does. But also, there's that metallic flavor that's in it, and this doesn't have that. Is there like something you've done with your processes? It's a little bit different, because I believe the basic process is basically brew a beer, then cook out the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's been the way that everyone internationally has approached non-alcoholic beer. Has been brew a full strength beer, and unfortunately usually with lower quality ingredients because they don't care about the beer. And then they either burn off the alcohol, they do some sort of distillation or like dilution or reverse osmosis. And any number of those each has its own like pros and cons. And ultimately they all, in every single one of those, there are things that leave the beer and people try to capture and reinsert in the beer. Even if that's something as simple as water, like in reverse osmosis, and needing to like re-dilute beer. I think that has pretty significant effects also on the body of the beer. Or like, no matter how like gingerly you burn off the alcohol, like hop aromas are going to leave before the alcohol.
Right.
And you have to try to capture and reinsert those. So it's, in our process, we kind of realized that if those technologies were a good starting point, that people would already be employing them. And so we kind of went back to the textbooks and came up with our own process, where we brew to under 0.5% ABV, just so we don't have to affect the integrity of the beer after it's done. So there's no more removal process once it's done fermenting, essentially.
Okay,
that's awesome.
So we go through a full fermentation and hopefully get all the esters and compounds, and then have just a fully fermented, super sessionable beer.
Right. Yeah, that's what it tastes like, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you're basically just making so there's less fermentable sugars in there, essentially, or?
No, we do a pretty full malt bill. It's all the traditional brewing ingredients, except we use all organic grains also. It's not like a chemical process or anything like that. It is a all natural process where we're just tweaking natural variables like temperature, time, pH, and stuff like that, just to brew to super sessionable levels. Really just with an eye towards quality and food safety. It's a fully brewed process that, me and our co-founder John came up with. We did years of business planning, but also about 9 months just of straight home brewing on Gatorade jug size batches where, if you go back to our early Instagram feed, it's just all John with Gatorade jugs in an empty warehouse. And we brewed we'd have 10 batches running at once and just change one variable, brew it all the way through, change one variable, brew it all the way through, and see what we lost, see what we gained, and through 100 iterations, we arrived at a process we really like, where we think we can hit a very full range of styles.
Right. I know with other non-alcoholic beers, there's the forced carbonation deal. Do you guys have to do that, or being that you brew a full beer, you don't have to go that route?
Yeah, just like in regular craft beer, like we generate a significant amount of natural carbonation, but like in any craft beer too, like everyone's always like tweaking carbonation levels to make sure it's just right.
Right.
And so, yeah, our tanks are definitely like carbonated just like everyone else's. But, I think the metallic taste itself was probably just from like more of the heating and like all the dilution probably. In like past non-alcoholic beers that people make fun of.
Yeah, because that's that sharpness of flavor that comes with that process. Like a beer's supposed to be well-rounded and kind of smooths those edges out that do exist, and it's like, but the sweetness kind of carries over that, and that doesn't really happen in that process. So you said it took probably about 100 iterations to get to your process. Are there like small tweaks you do to the process depending on the style of beer that you're making?
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's definitely not like a one-style-fits-all brewing process, and it's different lengths of time and different like time lengths in the brew house, like different times and temperatures, mashing and stuff like that. But yeah, John is really a genius at work. It's incredible to see him like propose a new recipe challenge that he wants to tackle, and like the speed at which he's a very good chef also, which helps I think in his recipe formulation.
It's like
and it's very cool to see him come up with some really challenging recipes, like, and pretty much hit them on the first iteration, and then in the next 2 or 3, it's really cool to see it like play out. Like the Autumn Brown or Local Harvest, the Double Hop. It's been really fun to watch him iterate these recipes the past couple months. And like when we were homebrewing too, we'd have like 8 things going, and we'd have like another week left to ferment. And in some of that downtime, we brewed some cool other styles like Hefeweizens and stuff like that. So it was cool to see him just like take a swing on a recipe like that, like super early on like really unsophisticated homebrew equipment, and like pretty much hit it, which is like totally a testament to his talent.
Yeah. Do you guys have any? I mean, you don't have to give away too much, but do you guys have anything in the works now that, I've tried pretty much everything you have to offer, coming up in the spring, summer, seasonal stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. We have at least 3 new beers that, should be available in the next 2 to 3 months. Okay. And one of them is definitely the Goza, which our kettle sour, which, we had that at the tap room last summer, but it was never like out in distribution. So we're going to try to scale. We're in the process of trying to scale that up. Hopefully for like limited distribution drops. But it'll be available online. And then, we've got 2 other fun styles too, lurking around the corner that I think will kind of blow people's minds, which we're really excited about.
Yeah,
we've been having a little fun on it. Yeah. Been having a little fun on Instagram with it, but try not to hint too much what we got going on.
I've seen some of the videos, and I'm like, what are they doing?
I think that Goza will go like gangbusters for you guys, because a Goza is already a pretty low alcohol beer, so it's really easy. Like, hey, you're only drinking like 3.2%, so the difference is so small. It's like, okay, I'll try that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really drinking this for that alcohol anyway.
Right.
Oh, for sure. There's certain people who either like are like stout drinkers or like sour drinkers, and like they're like whole craft communities around like these very specific beer types.
Yeah.
So we're really excited for that to be more widely available. We get tons of questions for that beer. But it's so on brand too, because it is like a highly functional beer with the higher sodium counts. It's got so many electrolytes in there. So we're really excited about that as like an athletic summer beer.
Yeah. It's what plants crave.
And that style has taken off over the last 5 or so years. You're seeing, the well-established breweries starting to put Gosas out, and starting to take off anyways, more of the sour style. So I think it'll work well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, our neighbors at Two Roads do an incredible couple Gosas.
Nice.
So Daniel, I know we talked about the fact that you did start the non-alcoholic beer aficionados, but what led you to be like, this needs to be a thing that's out there?
Well, I missed drinking good beer, and then I found that there is good beer that doesn't have alcohol. So I was basically like, I need to get the word out, and I know that there are people that are like me, that, you know, had an experience where they either drank too much or can't drink anymore, or, you know, kind of some of the stuff we've talked about, you know, pregnant and loved craft beer but now can't drink it, getting older, things like that. I figured there's a lot of people out there that, you know, are missing out. And so I saw that there is the quality still, and so I wanted to let everybody know, like, I'm that kind of person. Like, if I watch a good movie, I'm like, I want to tell everybody that I know about the movie, because I want them to see it. Like, I want them to enjoy it too. Same with music, same with, you know, any kind of, I guess, art that I'm into. And craft beers, you know, I consider an art. So anybody that'll listen, I'll tell. Okay, it looks like we're going to open the local harvest now.
Okay.
And this is your seasonal ale. What would you consider this beer? Like, what style, if you had to put a name on it?
Yeah, it's definitely like a fall harvest beer. We initially brewed it this fall. It's made with all Connecticut hops and malts, hops from Litchfield County, Connecticut, Poirier hops, and then one of the oldest farms in the state, Thrall Family Farms, recently transitioned from being a tobacco grower to a malt grower.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's all local ingredients in there. And yeah, it was so nicely received this fall that we brewed another batch in December of it.
Nice.
But yeah, it's definitely that fall, not an Oktoberfest style, but more like a fall celebration of the harvest type style.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It reminds me of almost like a pale ale with a little bit of like a brown ale, like almost like a hybrid of the two styles.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Like, yeah, a little bit of like redness and like that, like orange red glow to the malt body.
Right.
Yep. And it's interesting. The like terroir, not to pretend I'm fancier than I am, but the hops and malts grown in Connecticut almost have totally different characteristics than those styles grown in the Pacific Northwest. So that was really fun to see come through.
What was the name of the hops you were saying?
It's definitely got Cascade and Chinook are the two most prominent, but they're so different that they call them Canuck and Concade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Get the Connecticut in there.
I feel, and I love the taste of like the fresh local malts. I feel like it's got like a special hardiness to it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this one's good.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about our reactions out here in California to the ship beer that you guys are producing, but how's the locals taking to you guys out there in Connecticut?
It's been really fun. So we have the tap room that's open on Fridays and Saturdays right now, soon to be more days, but yeah, more and more people are coming in every weekend, and it's, the only non-alcoholic beer tap room in the country. And I think people really like the concept of just being able to saddle up and try like a whole range of non-alcoholic beers.
Yep.
Yeah, we have people coming from pretty far on certain weekends. Like yesterday we had people in from Pennsylvania and Ohio, which were very humbled that they would choose to drive that far to visit, but it's really awesome to like be able to connect with people in person about the beer. Where it's like a very taproom experience. We can try small scale pilot stuff and get their immediate feedback. And we've been traveling around to some of the bigger breweries too, who we know are interested in non-alcoholic beer, and trying their own hand at it. It's been fun to do some non-alcoholic beer shares and talk about the community as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the big things that I'm trying to push is some of the breweries that I love drinking. Like, hey, you guys throw this around, try it out. I've been showing them that the group. I've been tagging them in it and stuff to let them know that this is out there, and there are breweries that are doing this well. So I know all these bigger names are constantly making small batches and trying to be innovative, and this would be a real big step in that if they could do it well.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to help people through a lot of the challenges in the category. Like brewing the beer itself is I'd say a third of the challenge. Yeah. The food safety and regulatory part is so much stricter than the regular craft beer world.
Really?
Where regular craft beer, the alcohol is a preservative, and it's really a very stable beverage that's not going to hurt anyone. They're more worried about policing overconsumption and minors drinking it, where in the non-alcoholic beer world, you don't have the alcohol as a preservative. So it's a very volatile beverage, and the food safety standards are super high in all food categories. So yeah, it's totally different regulatory paths for non-alcoholics. So, we've been trying to help people down that road so that they can understand really the risks of if you just follow regulatory brewery sanitation protocols, which are super strict, and all of us brewers take a ton of time cleaning anyway. Mm-hmm. There are just so many other risks in non-alcoholic that people may not even be aware of,
Yeah, I was going to ask, because I've had some more craft beers here, and the quality sometimes kind of varies. And so I was wondering, does non-alcoholic beer stay, I guess, does the quality keep, or does it diminish quicker?
Well, it's all about the precautions people are taking. Okay. It for sure can, and it's it is naturally less stable than alcoholic beer for sure. Right. So if someone isn't really taking high quality precautions, testing in their lab, have strict protocols they follow for sanitation and everything, it is much more at risk. We've definitely really overspent on our lab. We have a lab the size of a regional brewery. And we have a super qualified, microbiologist running our lab, who has a long career in the craft brewing world, and he's super smart and very involved in production. We've really over-invested on the quality and stability of our products, just because of those concerns. And I don't think that a lot of people coming into the category, or who are piloting small stuff right now, really know those concerns even.
Yeah, I would not have thought of them at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that people don't even know what they don't know, and so it could be a scary world. But our beers are supposed to be shelf stable for, our beers are lab tested for upwards of 6 months, and soon that's going to be a year in a couple weeks. So it should be very stable, but like anything though, hops are definitely best if drank fresh.
Yeah.
So it's in super hoppy beers, especially the stout, which has a very low IBU profile, should be good. Should be exactly the same for very long. But we always encourage people to keep their beer cold and drink it fresh when possible. And just because hoppy beers, it's hops. So
yeah. Yeah, when I order from you guys, get it at the door, and I can drink it right then because it's still cold. So yeah, it's perfect.
Definitely fun. Yeah, a lot of days it's literally going from canning line to the e-commerce packages, which is really fun.
Yeah.
So people in the tri-state area in the Northeast wake up to beer brewed or canned the day before sometimes, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's hard to come by even when you live in the town where the brewery is. You go there a couple days later, and it's, you're still getting a few day old. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome though. Like, there's nothing like getting like beer cans that week. So yeah. The local craft beer movement's incredible. We're absolutely huge fans of local breweries.
So I know out here we have a bunch of like there's a beer passport and things like that. Those local organized tours. Are you guys parts of that in Connecticut? Are you guys like getting into those kind of tours that it is a stop along the way that people are aware of?
Yeah, we're definitely trying to. We're on one right now, but we're fortunate to have like a great craft beer community in our local area. There's Two Roads, Tribus, Fairfield Craft Ales, all within like a few miles of our brewery. And then if you expand that out a little bit, there's some other really good spots. So, it's a really good beer community that's fun. And the craft beer world is like super intellectually curious, and like everyone in the area, I feel like, comes in to at least try one and like give it a shot,
This episode of Barley Me is brought to you by the 10th anniversary of Sacramento Beer Week, which is quickly approaching. This 10-day celebration of Sacramento craft beer begins April 26th with the second annual Sac Mac and Brew Review, with a mac and cheese pairing competition alongside a brewfest of over 40 local craft breweries. Early bird tickets to the Sac Mac and Brew Review are on sale now at sacbeerweek.com. Prices go up on March 1st, so grab them now. Sac Beer Week continues with over 300 events throughout the greater Sacramento region, beginning April 27th and ending on May 5th. Check out the calendar starting on March 1st for a preliminary list of 2019 events at www.sacbeerweek.com. And check back regularly as the calendar is updated with fresh events constantly. I hope to see you out and about, sipping on suds and trading stories at Sac Beer Week, beginning April 26th and ending May 5th, 2019. Back to the show.
Do you ever get people coming in that don't realize you're a non-alcoholic brewery?
I can't remember any. I spend a lot of time behind the bar.
Yeah.
We get all the time at beer festivals and athletic events. Like people will like take a beer and keep it going before I can like explain it to them.
Right.
I'm like, there's probably some significant percentage of people who drink our beer that don't know it's not alcoholic at those events. But like, yeah, drunk bros always come up at beer festivals are like, where's your IPA? And like, just take it, chug it, and they're gone. And I'm like, probably a positive.
Like, what's the strongest beer you got? This one's 0.3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what's the darkest beer you got?
Right.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Or like when they're flipping the whites, like sometimes they let us keep pouring just to like give people a beer for the road.
Right.
And like people come by and like chug 2 beers.
Oh, you got them.
Right. They wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, just like got them hydrated for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a compliment though that they don't notice.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the night, nobody notices anything. But like at the beginning of the day, if they don't notice that, that's a pretty big compliment.
Yeah.
They're not like, hey, something's off here.
Yeah. That's exactly what we're going for. Is just like people to be able to have ours swapped in and like not take a step down at all.
Yeah.
We've done a few like live radio taste tests with craft beer writers and different people with like pretty sophisticated palates, which I've definitely been nervous about. But we line up like 3 to 6 beers and they try to identify which is our IPA among like really well-known craft beer company IPAs. And thankfully there's never been situations where they all point at one and it's like, this is non-alcoholic.
Right.
But it's been really fun to like just see people who know a lot about beer just like not be able to pick out our IPA in the lineup is really fun.
Yeah.
And you're so new. Like you'd think that'd be something that would come with time, but you've done all those iterations and you're just like, no, we've pretty much nailed this. So here you go.
We're definitely always trying to take feedback and get better. Yeah, and like all aspects of our business, anything from e-commerce to recipes to anything, we're always open to suggestions. And we're definitely just getting going, but there's like so much room for improvement on like all areas, which we're really excited about. Not necessarily like improvement, but just so much like in front of us where like people have such good ideas for different styles and like different ways to deliver beer and like get it to their local retailers. And we have a ton of exciting stuff coming in the next 6 months, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and I know since you guys are fairly new, I just want to ask this question. So have you made this your full-time job, or are you still working in the finance world as well?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I quit, basically, like 18 months before we launched, I quit my job full-time. So
nice.
It was like a full-time, yeah, it's just like a full-time home brewer who didn't really know that much about home brewing. And then, it was like really fun to work with John on the process and see how just like intellectually dialed in he is on the scientific process. And, yeah, me and him were there every day during construction. Well, it was either I was kind of like on the construction site every day, and John was homebrewing in his garage a lot of days too. So it was a fun winter though, for sure.
Yeah. What do you like? Oh, you did it in the winter?
Well, a lot of our trialing was from the summer into the winter essentially, and then we launched in May. But we were in full construction mode all winter that winter.
Oh, that sounds delightful.
It was actually really fun. Like sometimes I see construction equipment going down the highway and I get a little reminiscent of like, cause I was insured to drive all this equipment, and when people weren't there, but big objects would arrive, like our steam boiler was 7,000 pounds.
Oh man.
And the guy was like, you gotta get this off my truck. Like, I gotta keep going. And I'm just like, looking at the Bobcat in the middle of the warehouse, and like, there's not really anyone else around. I'm like, all right, like, there was one guy there with a lot of experience, but he wasn't insured to drive it all.
Oh man.
And so I would drive it, and he'd be like, all right, you got to put the chains on this part. Yeah. And like, but just like so much fun.
So would you like get emails from your brewer like, hey, we need to do this different thing? I know you're already starting this, but there's another thing you need to do with this equipment.
We got pretty lucky in terms of we were fairly far along in our process when we ordered our equipment from. Our brew house was a custom brew house from Mark's Design Metalworks in Washington State. They do incredible stainless work, and they like worked really closely with us in like making our equipment exactly how we wanted it, which was very cool. Yeah, and then it's always a work in progress. Like, we think there's something we could add to like a certain pipe, so that we're like measuring something more accurately, or yeah, it's like there's always more equipment to be had, so it's fun. Yeah.
So how big of a brew house do you guys have?
So the brewery footprint itself is like 8,000 square feet. The brewing equipment itself, the brew house is a 20-barrel brew house.
Okay.
Which we double batch into 40-barrel fermenters, and then we have 40-barrel bright tanks also. But, yeah, we have room to put in taller tanks and more rows of tanks also.
Yeah.
So.
Well, good. Yeah. So you were planning to have this kind of push early.
Yeah. Like we knew, just like, we didn't know for sure. Like, the market was nothing. We didn't have our product. And it was definitely a massive leap of faith on John's part to move across the country from Santa Fe to team up. On my part to quit finance. And yeah, us to make this big bet and invest this much money into a brewery that, there wasn't really a market for at the time, but we just had this confidence that it was there. And so, yeah, it, definitely, a lot of people told us we were crazy, and like really nicely told us, like, I looked for the right brewing partner to team up with for a long time, and a lot of people very genuinely were like, advised me, they're like, trust me, there's no market for this, like, please don't like overinvest. And so, but we kind of powered through despite that pushback, and it was tough for John and I to get our phone calls answered for a long time from a lot of people. But, once we started showing up with product, like, I'll definitely give, our home state distributor and Star distributors, like, right from day one, they like it's crazy for such a great big distributor this wasn't an existing market really. And they were like, this is going to be big. Like, we want to team up, and like have been awesome partners who totally got it from day one. And Whole Foods was the same way. Whole Foods, right from day one, has been an awesome partner. And total credit to them that they like got the concept, wanted it on the shelves, even before there was any like customer feedback out there. So it was very cool on like select retailers and our main distributor partner. It was totally awesome.
Yeah, that's a lot of dedication and, yeah, like you said, a lot of confidence. I mean, but if you think about it, I guess every invention or innovation like has its critics before it launches, you know. I mean, this being a huge risk, but you know, everything kind of starts as like either a good idea or a horrible idea. So looks like you guys made it a good idea.
Yeah.
And some of those people become our biggest fans, like people who kind of like give us pushback at the tent are like, what's the point? Like, come on, really? Like, and like make fun of us a little bit, and then they try it. And like those tend to be the people who hang around the tent and come back a couple times during the day. And like you see them telling people about it. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that make me a believer thing. They become believers. That's like the most important thing person you can get. Somebody who's nonplussed by the idea. Sure. They're gonna, if they're impressed by something they don't plan to be impressed by, they're gonna tell people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's definitely not going to be something that's for everyone. But even if it's like 1 out of 20 people, that would be 5% of the beer market right there.
Right.
And
as opposed to 0.5.
Like, and the IPA market is enormous, and it's only 4 to 7% of the beer world. So like there's, if we make small strides in this category, it could very quickly be really awesome to see.
Well, on that note, we're actually drinking the IPA right now, the Run Wild. And so when I first had this beer, I love West Coast IPAs, and that's what this really reminds me of. And you guys are obviously not on the West Coast, but what was like your thought process on making this beer? Like, why'd you make it the way it is?
Yeah, most of John's like brewing career was in Santa Fe, so he definitely has like a really high regard for the West Coast IPA style and like very like really traditional high quality brewing like characteristics. And yeah, so we wanted like a filtered, very crisp, approachable IPA with like a really like nice rich Vienna malt backbone that like gives it that like nicer, darker color and SRM but you know, we really wanted the Vienna malt to speak a decent amount, but not overwhelm the hops that are there too.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't.
But we also wanted people who, like, because a fair amount of customers are non-drinkers who haven't had a lot of craft beer over the years. And so we didn't want them to taste hops and be like, oh, this beer is bad, you know?
Yeah,
so
that's usually the case at first.
Like, we wanted to have, like, a really balanced hop bitterness profile. So we were just really cognizant not to have it be too bitter a beer.
Right. Well, I know over here, and I mean, you guys are on the east, and the northeast style of IPAs are like everywhere now. I'm kind of getting tired of seeing them. And I want the traditional IPAs back. And so do you guys, is there like a plan to maybe make the northeast style since you guys are up there?
Yeah, for sure. So it's funny, we've gotten a lot of that too, where people who are used to drinking hazy IPAs are like, oh man, it's so nice to have like a really traditional West Coast crisp IPA.
Yeah, like not juice.
But yeah, we so on our pilot system, sometimes we do like more unfiltered, hazier type stuff. We definitely are thinking of doing it out of the tap room, and we'll probably scale that up to our main system at some point. But we also want to make sure that the food safety is where it needs to be. And if we just launch a totally unfiltered, hazy IPA, we're just not, we know how to deal with those risks. We just haven't, we know what we have to control, and we're going to be all set to handle that in a couple weeks. So we're going to start messing around with it.
Yeah, but it's definitely one of the more, the more volatile styles out there. As far as if you put it in a can, it's not built to last, even if you're making it perfectly.
Right.
For sure, and like we're very wary of launching beer into the world that's not going to be stable for up to 6 months. So
yeah.
And like, we don't want it like sitting in a restaurant, like if like they don't promote it and they forget about it, you know?
So I've noticed with some of the other, non-alcoholic beer, the, head doesn't really stay. It kind of deteriorates pretty quickly. Is that just kind of part of being non-alcoholic, or is, what's the reason for that?
It's totally, like, the head of beers is like very protein dependent. And like right now, one of the trade-offs we're making on that front is we're filtering for shelf stability and consistency, where we lose a slight amount of the head retention because some of those proteins get filtered out with the yeast. So yeah, it's a shelf stability trade-off where our beer on tap holds head just like a regular craft beer. So yeah, it's just like the filtering that essentially is accounting for that.
Yeah, but I was wondering how a beer on tap would be a non-alcoholic beer. I've never seen one.
Yeah, it's just like regular craft beer. It holds its head for, and it's delightful. But that's a shelf stability consideration that, but other non-alcoholic beers, it might be more because of the process also.
Yeah,
like if they use,
what I was wondering.
Like, like reverse osmosis drips down the beer and stuff like that. So, so it might be a different reason for other non-alcoholic beers, but ours is just for shelf stability, essentially.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, I was wondering if it was just non-alcoholic beer in general. Couldn't do it, but yeah. I've had some of yours that definitely held up more so than others, which was nice because for me personally, I like pouring a beer in a pint glass and like seeing it all the way to the last sip. It just looks good.
Yeah, for sure.
That beautiful lacing.
The IPA, the IPA, the stout, and the seasonals definitely hold on to it a bit longer than the golden ale. The golden ale is meant to be just like super crisp and refreshing. Right. So that's
Yeah, that was supposed to wash out real quick, regardless of
right. Yeah. So Ben, what'd you think of the IPA?
I enjoyed the IPA also. It's a little less bitter than I like. I'm a big West Coast guy. I like the throat ripping feeling that you get from a real harsh one. But it was still a really good beer. Like I'm excited to like bring this out and like bring it to friends and be like, hey, you should try this beer. It's right. And like maybe not tell them. Maybe throw them the can. Maybe they look at the can and find out. But like just sneak it up on them. Like that sounds like a lot of fun to me.
Yeah.
And well, like you said, the can art and stuff, it fits right in with the whole style that's going on now, the modern look. So, hey, there's this new brewery, Athletic Brewing Company. Yeah. Sounds like it would trick me if I didn't know any better.
Yeah, I probably bring a 6-pack to a party at some point.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're going for.
Yeah.
And looking at the date, this one was canned on only 10 days ago.
Oh, nice. Made it all the way
February
to California.
6th.
It was only canned 10 days ago. Nice.
Yeah.
So Bill, I have a question. You've been doing all these festivals and things like that. You're getting a lot of feedback on your beer. And we've kind of touched on a few reasons that people go the non-alcoholic route. What are some of the more unexpected reasons you've heard from consumers?
Like I said, it definitely caught me off guard how young our drinkers are. I would have never expected anyone under 30 years old to be customers of ours. And like, I've poured beer on college campuses and kids not kids, young adults, like love it. And like, they just like get it, love it. And they're like, is this going to be on tap here? Like, this would be perfect for weeknights. And I'm like, yeah, That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So like younger people have definitely surprised me. The distance and the people come to see us and like all the emails and phone calls are like so overwhelming, has really caught us off guard. I can't say like, I guess one thing that's been very cool too is how many people in the military reach out and we send them beer. But like, there aren't, like, I kind of assumed it to be like an any day, any occasion beer, so I haven't really been that caught off guard by any specific group reaching out because I kind of thought it was going to be like a little bit of every occasion, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and I think the research has been out for a while now that, the younger people aren't drinking as much. If they're not drinking beer, they're going to cocktails. They're doing a lower alcohol, a little bit more flavorful type drinks, and so I think you're getting in at the right time where this is the curve that's happening in the community as far as drinking and all that stuff is concerned. There's an interest in flavor,
right,
over alcohol. Whereas opposed, when I was a kid, you had parties every night. And binge drinking was a big problem. And I think that's come way down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think in even 10, 15 years ago, people would just go right to the price and that's just what everyone competed on. And people really didn't care what was in cans. But I think craft beer in general is in an awesome spot as just like a really high quality premium beverage. And what the craft beer world's doing is absolutely incredible. So, we're really excited about trying to join that world and bring non-alcoholic to it.
Yeah, I think you guys are going to be just fine.
Oh, thank you. Definitely appreciate it.
So we just opened the Double Hop IPA.
Nice.
This is my personal favorite. Big IPA drinker. And this one, the head retention's a little better. And I like the look, and then it does have a little bit of that throat ripping that Ben was talking about.
It is there. Yeah. I'm here for it.
It definitely fills up the taste buds for sure.
That's exactly what we're going for. We definitely tried to push the limits of our pilot system on that one a little bit. Just to see if certain hopping processes were possible on that equipment, and then when it was, we were pretty psyched, and then we brewed the big batch of it. So yeah, we're definitely going to be looking to scale up that beer sometime soon because, myself included, there are a lot of people who love that, just the stronger bitterness. I went to college in Vermont and loved all those Northeast IPAs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely something that I love, that really more harsh and less juicy hop bitterness, but I love both, really.
Right. What hops are in the Double Hop?
It's a blend. It's definitely different than our Run Wild. Our Run Wild is really Citron Mosaic at the forefront. In the Double Hop, it's definitely Cascade, Citron Mosaic also, some Cryo hops.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's we're coming at it from a couple different directions.
Yeah. So Katrina, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys kind of moved into the NA beer thing because of Danny's medical stuff. Was it hard for you to make that transition with him? Was there some pushback?
No, not pushback. I was kind of excited to have him go the sober route. And I think the hardest part has been just that was kind of our dating. What we did on dates is going to craft breweries, and that was a big part of our kind of social life. So now it's just finding new things for us to do, and
that's pretty exciting, though.
Yeah. But it has been definitely a lot more exciting with having these other options available,
right?
And then getting into the group with him, and every once in a while I'll post, and then he's like, "Yay, you posted!"
I got a few admins, but they never say anything. But my buddy Eric Wells made the logo, so I want to shout him out. He did a great job, and wanted to keep it simple and legible and all that. But have the hop in there. That that's what we love about the craft beer. So I have another admin. He doesn't do anything on there, so I gotta throw him under the bus. But yeah, it's been fun to have Katrina on the group too, and we both get into it. We're like checking it and stuff to, how many people we have now, and having conversations with different people from all over the country and all over the world has been really cool. And then seeing like, there's been a few people that post from other countries, and they're posting like their pictures of their shelves or some of their beers that are there, and now that they can see, the market growing in the U.S., so maybe, the idea is that they're going to be like, hey, there is some people over there. Maybe we should distribute to them. I know, distribution is tricky, but at least they can see it, like they can see it tangibly. It's not just word of mouth. It's like in your face. Like you can actually see people talking about it online. So.
For sure. I think that's very well said. That I think groups like yours are going to really help get non-alcoholic beer into the public vernacular, just so it's so much more commonplace and relatable for people. Yeah. I do love what you guys did with the logo and the group name also. It's just like, it's such a great name. I love our t-shirts.
Awesome.
We've all been rocking them around the brewery the past couple days.
Nice. Yeah, I'm wearing mine right now.
Nice.
All right. So Bill, I know you've got some things you got to get up to, so let's just get out of here. Before we do, though, let's just figure out where everybody can find things. So, Danny and Katrina, where can people find out more about non-alcoholic beer aficionados?
It's on Facebook, so you just search that on Facebook. And
it's NA Beer Aficionados, so I can get that out there.
Yes, it stands for non-alcoholic. But yeah, NA Beer Aficionados. I believe there are not many NA beer groups, so it should pop up right away.
You don't need to spell aficionados. If you get the first two letters, you'll probably get it.
Yeah, AF. That'll get you. And then, jump on in there. And it's a daily, conversation going on. You won't be in the group and be like, oh, no one's talking. Like, people are chiming in, so it's not a boring group. And then, like Bill was saying, we got some shirts that we're making up, and trying to do, as the group grows, maybe some merch. I myself love glassware, so I'm hoping to be able to do that in the future. And hats and different things like that. We have a bunch of shirt printing shops and things like that in the area, so getting in with them, kind of shopping around, that's been really fun too.
And then Bill, where can people find Athletic Brewing?
Awesome. Yeah, we're just at Athletic Brewing on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, probably the easiest way, or athleticbrewing.com. But my email is just bill@athleticbrewing.com. We're super reachable. Love to get just fresh beer into the hands of people who will enjoy them. So definitely let us know any feedback, any concerns, or how we can get your beer closer to yourself. So.
Yeah. Plus, you can order online.
Yeah, free shipping.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's that's what's kind of caught my eye when I first started ordering, because there is no craft in this area, and so I was like, oh wait, free shipping. I'll go ahead and do that, to give it a shot, and so.
Yeah, it was really tricky to figure out.
I bet
shipping, shipping heavy things is just so naturally expensive. Shipping a beer. Shipping a case of beer to California is over $30, and so
I was wondering, how are you guys making any money on this?
Yeah, it's e-commerce definitely isn't the most profitable channel, but it's super fun to get people fresh beer, and really that's all we're about. So that's
Yeah, and for Barley and Me, you can follow Barley and Me across social media at Barley and Me Pod. You can email questions, comments, concerns to barleyandmepod@gmail.com or barleyandmepodcast@gmail.com. Both of those work. You can get t-shirts at zenthreads.com. That's zen-threads.com. Also, I want to give a shout out to the logo by Jessica DiMesio. And then the intro music is called Jam Rock by the artist Breeze. That's Breez. You guys, want to thank you guys so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Danny Lesage, thank you so much. Katrina Lestates, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Bill Shufelt.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Yeah, it was a blast to talk to you guys. And Danny and Katrina, thank you guys so much, too, for everything you're doing in the non-alcoholic community. It's really awesome to see come to life.
Yeah, thank you for making great beer.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, and best of luck to you in the future. I think you've got a good thing going.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us on. Really fun to hang out and talk about non-alcoholic beer.
Absolutely. All right, this has been episode 95 of Barley and Me. Thanks so much for listening. Get home safe.